Welcome to the first Wonderspace episode of 2022. My name is Steve Cole, and over the past 55 episodes, I have been asking the same 6 questions to amazing people from around the world. The questions orbit around wonder and stories of hopefulness, and the setting for each journey is this shared window on the space station, from where we see everything from a different perspective. Before we introduce our guest, our friends at asknature.org are going to help us to re-wonder.
At each stop, as she flits among the coral, an octopus instantly changes color and pattern to disappear into the background. Her skin is covered in little sacs of red, yellow, or brown pigment, hundreds in every square centimeter. Muscles connect to them, and by contracting or relaxing, either reveal or hide each tiny burst of color. Lower skin layers have the ability to isolate and reflect other colors from incoming light, or to reflect the general quality of light all around. For this soft, silent wonder, beauty, communication, and survival are all gloriously skin deep.
Our nighttime orbit this week will take us over Western Europe. And to experience these views with us in this ultimate window seat, we welcome Samata Pattinson, who is a broadcaster, entrepreneur, award-winning designer, and the CEO of Red Carpet Green Dress, which is an organisation that brings sustainability to the forefront of conversation and action within the fashion industry. The full-length interview with Samata can be found on the Wonderspace podcast, which you will find on our website and on most podcast platforms. For this shortened video orbit, Samata answers 3 of our 6 questions and starts by giving us a glimpse into her life story so far.
So I would say a quick glimpse into my life story so far. So I'm a British-born Ghanaian who was born in Cambridge in the United Kingdom, grew up in Cambridge, went to an all-girls school with my 2 other sisters, and really saw my life in Cambridge as one where I blended cultures and experiences. You know, we had the West African community, a really strong Ghanaian community that'd always keep an eye on me if I was in town and let my mum know where I was. And then we had this kind of different European Western experience where I kind of saw how my friends interacted with their parents and families, or, you know, just the expression of themselves through fashion. Like the culture and the aesthetics of somewhere like Cambridge is so different to that of somewhere like Accra. So it was this kind of very blended, pluralistic existence, and it was fascinating. And I didn't realize then, but I'm so lucky to have grown up in a place like Cambridge, because it's obviously known for the university. It's so multicultural, it's so diverse of people and experiences that you are automatically placed in a situation where you know that there's no single story. There's no like monolithic view of how things are. You always are aware that, well, this person has a different experience, this person has a different food, this person has a different language, a different accent, and it's as valid as this person who has a different voice, accent, food, etc. And I moved to London for my university, and I actually started in a degree in radiography, which was not for me. And then I moved over to economics, finance and management, which was also not for me, but I finished that degree. But I knew that when I was in London, I wanted to be immersed in the fashion industry. So I kind of used to hang out like at boutiques and make friends with designers. And that kind of just was a natural journey into me, maybe trying my own hand at designing and, you know, creating things and falling in love with fashion as a space to me, which was always about self-expression and identity, and straddling this line of being creative, but having a passion about business and kind of how things work. And so, yeah, that's kind of me. I bounced about in that for a while. And then, you know, at the end of 2010, beginning of 2011, I was kind of a young designer that entered a design competition just by chance. And that was my introduction to sustainability. So even though I've always existed around sustainability, I just never used the language. Red Carpet Green Dress was a contest I entered. I won the contest, and I started on a journey to understand how fashion and sustainability intersect. And that's been one of the most exciting kind of work journeys of my entire life. So yeah, now I'm deeply entrenched in that. I'm the CEO of Red Carpet Green Dress, a campaign founded by Suzy Amis Cameron and James Cameron, who are just really passionate about communicating sustainability in fresh and, unique ways. It was started when Suzy and James Cameron were going to the Oscars, and they wanted to have a meaningful conversation about the way that the fashion industry or the apparel industry impacts people and planet. And so the idea was, let's challenge a global creative community to design a sustainable piece that Suzy herself would wear. And then when she was walking the carpet, she could talk about that piece and talk about what it meant, how it had impact to people, how it had impact on planet. And that was really, really kind of the way that it started. But since then, it's really evolved to so many other things. We still have a partnership with the annual Academy Awards, or the Academy, which we're really proud of. And with that, we work with global or independent brands, artisans, designers, delivering these sustainable design solutions. But we also have educational work with young minds, or minds that are learning about sustainability. So that means you don't actually have to be young. You could be like a mature student, for example, but it's people who are on the journey to learn about sustainability. So that's really workshops, internships, work experience, and things like that. And our global design competition, which people will know about as well. And then most recently, we started an R&D division, which focuses on regenerative materials as well, because we felt that there was a missing kind of gap with our work. We're working with brands who are keen to deliver sustainable design solutions, but there's a shortfall when it comes to materials, especially in the luxury space. So we wanted to be part of bringing those solutions to people. So it's quite a nice varied existence. We have lots of different types of projects, and they're all really, really exciting. So it's pretty much, a 360 approach to sustainability, not just environmental, but definitely social as well. There is literally no single wonder, because what I find as someone who's kind of quite excited by biodiversity, and the fact that we know there is so much undiscovered biodiversity, right? We literally have so much more to discover that we don't even know is out there yet, or we don't know how it exists. So that to me blows my mind all the time. And again, it's that concept of, gosh, don't you love to be reminded of how little you know? I do, because it gives me hope that, okay, I might learn something tomorrow that will make me feel better, will help me be more of a kind of a benefit or assistance to somebody else, right? But when it comes to wonders of the natural world, I think it's just the way that nature always has a solution for its own problems that don't involve imploding or like devastating entire continents. It's just that smart biological strategy that nature has. Like you have, the sea creatures that sense electricity, or you've got the fish that see in the dark, or how fruit flies follow a scent. Like it's these things that are just completely to nature, just non things to celebrate. But when you study them, they give you solutions for how we can survive. Like if you think about now, you've got things like these kind of pigment molecules in leaves that absorb and transfer solar energy, or you have like the really pure distilled water that's inspired by like the evaporation process off the surface of a leaf. You've got iguanas that change size based on the available resources. Like nature is incredibly smart, and it also is able to work together. Like I remember reading an article about how some wild dogs in the continent of Africa, they have their own like voting system, and how they make group decisions about, whether they're going to stay or whether they're going to go, and that is to me almost the auditorium we should be sitting in a lot more, because I think we still think we have all the answers. We still think we're innovating. We still think we're discovering new things. And in a way, we're discovering things, but just because we've discovered them doesn't mean we brought them into existence. They actually were always there. So I apologize that this isn't a succinct answer, but nature to me is one of the most incredible things that we're privileged enough to be able to be around. And I just wish we had a lot more like deference and humility to it. My story of hopefulness for the future, for the world, is there's an organisation that I really love called Atlas of the Future. And the reason I love what they're doing is because, first of all, it's this concept of a global spotlight. I feel very strongly that a lot of the work in the sustainability realm has really centred specific parts of the world more kind of predominantly. It's heavily celebrated the thoughts and actions kind of coming out of these spaces. And in a way, it's pushed away or subordinated thoughts, concepts, pioneers, people, communities from other parts of the world. So the fact that Atlas of the Future look for, people from around the world to solve our problems and also just to celebrate what they do is really, really important. We can't have a kind of a sustainable future if we've only ever listened to a tiny percentage of the population. It's just, who's that sustainable for? And then the bit, where they say it's the future, right? And I think that so often the conversations we have focus on how bad things are, where we are right now, and we aren't having enough conversations about what we're trying to build towards. And when I say that, I mean the positive side. We know what we're running away from, okay, at this point. We really do, but where are we running towards? So Atlas of the Future have all of these different ways to communicate a different type of future. They use media in a way that is, to me, the future of media. It's interactive, it's interpreting figures and data in a very visual way. They bring in things like comics, they bring in this idea of a new media, what that looks like, local stories, being able to translate the content into different languages, these things that show a more global view and cultural view of sustainability. And I really, really love that. They've just kind of never failed to inspire. And even when they're kind of presenting something which is just not great, this is not something we have a great deal of kind of joy when we hear these statistics. It's always solution focused. It's like, this is a problem. How are we going to tackle this? And for me, being someone that really feels deeply about, the environment and about people, this approach works for me because it makes me feel hopeful, and it also deals with my anxiety about things as well. So I think Atlas of the Future are really incredible.
To find out more about Samata, go to samatahome.com. Red Carpet Green Dress can be found at rcgdglobal.com. In her story of hopefulness, Samata spoke about Atlas of the Future, who in December were forced to postpone their Fixing the Future festival in Barcelona. Samata was one of the 50 speakers, and we were also going to be there to record an episode of Wonderspace. The good news is that the festival has been rearranged for September the 16th and 17th, and you can find out more at fixingthefuture.atlasofthefuture.org. To engage with the previous 55 Wonderspace episodes, go to our website, ourwonder.space. I want to thank Samata for joining us on Wonderspace. I hope you can join us next week for more wonders and stories of hopefulness.